All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be talking to an individual who is a big bantamweight tilt coming up, going on July 27th at Rise FC 4. Jamie Siraj taking on Blake Sigvaldason, and I have Blake on the show to talk a little bit about that fight. How's your day going so far, man?
Good. How's yours?
Oh, it's going well. I'm just curious about the preparatory measures for this fight here, like who some of the like regular sparring partners that you're getting in that work with.
I've been sparring. Chris Day has been there a fair amount. Joe Parada as well. He has a fight coming up as well, so he's been helping me out a ton. And then the various guys that are kind of bigger, but all the guys at Toshido.
Yeah, and I had a curious kind of observation on Tapology here. It says your foundation style is thrap style. What is it? What exactly is thrap style?
So that goes back to like way fucking few fights, and it just never got changed. But it basically, in the smaller town where I grew up, it was just like what you do when you just basically trap somebody, just fuck somebody up, and it was just more like a joke.
So it's not something you're gonna be carrying into future fights.
More like I would say wrestler.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was kind of fun. But talking about your opponent specifically here, I mean, one of the more like well-regarded bantamweight competitors on the scene has a bit of an experience edge. But you've been really stepping to the occasion in your last few fights, and really, just trying to get out there and face the best opponents possible. I'm curious, when did the dialogue start getting going for this particular fight against Jamie Siraj?
I always knew that our paths would cross, but basically, I signed with Rise, and before I signed, they offered me the fight with Jamie. I talked it over with Dave, my coach, and we agreed that it's a good fight. Let's take it.
Yeah, and so it was a multi-fight contract. What exactly does that mean in terms of like a specific number of fights? Like, is it like a 5-fight deal, a 3-fight kind of thing? Like, what's the nature of the Rise FC contract there?
Just 2 fights. I don't know if I'm able to say the next date, but yeah, this fight and then a following fight as well.
One just later on in the calendar year?
Yeah. Before the end of the year.
And I was curious too. I mean, obviously this is a bantamweight fight, and you've been having some great successes at bantamweight as of late. But you've also competed a fair bit at featherweight, and you've been kind of talking about going back to there. I'm kind of curious, like, what your future is in terms of the division. Is it sort of like best fights available to you, and you'll figure it out from there? Do you see like a long-term future, maybe at bantamweight now as opposed to featherweight? Because I was checking out an MMA Empire interview you did, and you were like 145 is the weight I would like to fight at. But also you were talking about wanting to be a champion and sort of like carry the flag since you won some titles over in the bantamweight division there. So I guess what's your long-term future division wise?
It's basically wherever the better fight comes. It's just a matter of cutting a bunch of weight or not cutting a bunch of weight. And I don't think I'm a small 45er, but I'm not a big one either. And I'd like to believe that I am a bigger 35er. But yeah, basically wherever the better fight comes, wherever the opportunities present themselves.
You had a great victory in your last fight there over Michael Imparato, and I got to talk to you just a bit after that. So, I mean, have you noticed like a lot more, I guess, eyes on you since that fight? A lot of like different like bout offers and people reaching out to you a little bit more, because Michael Imparato was one of the more well-regarded, sort of highly ranked competitors.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, not a crazy amount. I haven't really got too many fight offers.
I was kind of curious about the situation with XFFC though. Like, is that a promotion you would compete for again in the future? Because I thought I saw some post where there was a bit of an issue with the Toshido guys and certain things like that. Have fences been mended with XFFC to any degree? Was there any real kind of drama that was going on there? Like, what was the situation on that end of things? Because I remember a bit of a social media kind of interaction in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think I'll go too deep into detail, but essentially there were just some bad business practices that, just you just would rather not be a part of. So, there's tons of other organizations, tons of other fights. So, not a big deal. We'll just keep her moving.
Yeah, for sure. And you seem to respond to these situations pretty well. Just anything that resembles adversity or like a speed bump or anything like that. Like you've had some MMA fights canceled, and sometimes they're like 3 days before fight night. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, have you always had that kind of disposition and that sort of mentality whereby you're able to like adjust to these situations and kind of move on from it? Like, how important is it to, I guess, be able to do that?
I think it's super important, but I don't think I've always had it. I mean, I've always had a certain quality like that, but through my amateur career, I lost more than I won, and I lost my pro debut. And I think going through that adversity kind of, I guess, calloused my mind a bit just to be able to handle these things.
And what do you think created that big turnaround? Because that was something I had noticed as well, just in as far as that you had some losses in the amateur ranks, and then, like you said, lost your professional debut, but you've been really getting some great wins together and you're streaking as of this point. So was there like a distinct moment where you remember things shifting and sort of changing for the better, or was it just kind of like a gradual sort of thing that you noticed over time, I guess?
It was a switch to Shido for sure. I was living in Terrace, BC. It was a small town. There wasn't very many training partners. The level of coaching wasn't as high as it is here in Kelowna, right? And I knew I had to make a change, and I just hopped on a plane to Kelowna, actually to Vancouver, for one of my teammates' fights, and then just called a ride back to Kelowna with him. And from that moment onward, just been in the gym nonstop.
And I mean, that helps so much, just getting like a great gym to train at. It seems like you're really trying to develop on all ends. Like, I mean, obviously you got that big elbow stoppage over Imparato, but I also noticed you're a BJJ blue belt as well. So it seems like you got a pretty well-rounded game, all things considered. Is that something you want to show off more in the cage going forward, like the jiu-jitsu acumen, or is it kind of just like function within like what's happening as the fight progresses and kind of just respond to whatever's going on, and sort of like whatever finish materializes will materialize?
Yeah, whatever happens, happens. I come to finish fights and win. I train all my skills as much to the fight, and then just go out there and put it all out there. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, actually, I noticed you had that relatively recent gi tournament you did. Like, it was your first one, and you got the silver medal. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, probably wants to show off a little bit. And also, you earned the gold in no gi, and you had some pretty tough opponents there.
Yeah, it was a fun tournament. I haven't competed in years. I can't even remember last time when I was like a kid. But yeah, jiu-jitsu has always been my thing. I haven't always been under a black belt, so I haven't been able to be belted. But I've been doing jiu-jitsu since I was like 7.
Yeah, and I noticed also you're pretty heavy into like fitness and nutrition and stuff like that. You're a certified fitness trainer for ISSA, and you get a lot of that going. How important is that sort of as like a side endeavor? Obviously, it's something that you can gain a certain amount of income from and have like the autonomy to kind of like make your own schedule. But it also probably lends itself really well to your own career. Being you're a professional athlete and everything.
Yeah, for sure. That was a big part of it. Being able to kind of design my own strength conditioning and my nutrition. But, yeah, it only plays so much. I think it's mental is the biggest part of it. I learned that through my amateur career.
Yeah, it seems like the recuperative measures are pretty key. Like, you were doing some of that cryotherapy at Gravity Float Wellness. Like, are there any other like recuperative methods that you go through, like once you're done, like with hard training or coming off a difficult fight?
I do ice baths, cold showers, Epsom salt baths, stuff like that. Go in the sauna, just basic stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's so important though. I mean you probably have to like put a commensurate amount of time into the recovery as you do just sort of like working hard in the gym there. But I also noticed you got a bit of a tattoo on your elbow recently that I thought was pretty cool, and it kind of like is tied to some Norse sagas and some of the folklore there. So can you kind of explain that for some of the listeners, because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's as you could probably see to my last name, I guess you could say Norse heritage, Scandinavian heritage. My family's Icelandic, or a big part, not all of it, obviously. But the tattoo, it's a ancient Norse symbol called the seventh thorn, and basically they would carve it on a piece of oak and lay it beneath the head of your adversary and put him into a deep sleep. And I just thought it was cool for that reason, tying into fighting and choking somebody, obviously, right? And tying to my culture.
Yeah, and then I obviously mentioned the fact that you got a pretty good like elbow-based finish relatively recently in the Michael Imparato fight. So it's kind of cool in that sense too. Sort of like ties directly into it, and also your heritage is in there. But I also thought it was cool that you came out to Hacker Skelder by Hylon when you won that XFFC title there. So the heritage really coming through in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's cool stuff, man, and I really do appreciate the time here. I'm curious if if there's anything you want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping things up here.
No, not a whole much or a whole bunch, but if you plan on coming to watch, get your tickets as quick as you can, and if you care personally, try and get it on preview on Fight TV, FITE.tv.
Yeah, for sure, and that's going to be a great card, one of the big featured bouts for Rise FC4, which people can check out on July 27th. It's a key bantamweight bout between Jamie Siraj and Blake Sigvaldason, really high stakes in terms of like who the top-ranked 135-pounders are. And yeah, just really appreciate all the time and insights, Blake, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.